Okay. So the next chapter in your labor laws is law of welfare and working conditions. So in this chapter, there's your lesson 16. We'll be dealing with three acts. So each of these acts are covered under three different units. Okay, your first unit will be Factory Act, and then the second unit will be about contract laborers and the act relating to that. And the third unit is the Child and Adolescent Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986. So what I thought was we'll start with the easiest and smallest portion of this unit. We are starting with Unit 3, your Child and Adolescent Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986. Okay, ready?
Yes,
Ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes. All right. So, what is the objective of this act? Child and Adolescent Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986 prohibits the employment of children below 14 years and in case of hazardous occupations and processes, and it also regulates the working conditions in other employment. So, if it is a child below 14 years, then it is banned. It is prohibited that they should not be employed in any type of occupation, whether hazardous or not. And as per this act, if it is an adolescent, then an adolescent can be engaged in work, but they cannot be engaged in hazardous occupations and processes. So adolescent is a kid above the age 14 years. But the
15 to
person
18.
exactly 15 to 18. He should 18 means he becomes an adult. So he has completed 14 years, but he is not quite an adult. He has not attained the 18 years of age. Then such a person is called as an adolescent. He can be employed, but there are certain rules for his employment. Certain regulations should be followed, and he should not be employed in any hazardous occupations. That is all about your Child and Adolescent Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986. So we are going to see the provisions relating to that. ஸோ சைல்டு லேபர் இருக்கக்கூடாது சில்ட்ரனை நீங்க வந்து எம்ப்ளாய் பண்ணீங்கன்னா வாட் வில் பி த பெனல்டி இஃப் யூ எம்ப்ளாயிங் adolescents in what occupations you can do so okay and how to go about employing adolescents on the provisions எல்லாம் follow பண்ணனா what will be the penalty that is all it's a very simple act we'll complete it within the hour right
Yes, ma'am.
okay Introduction. The Child and Adolescent Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986, enacted to prohibit the engagement of children in all occupations and to prohibit the engagement of adolescents in hazardous occupations and also the processes and matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. This act, it extends to the whole of India. It applies to all of the states in India. It prohibits employment of children in all occupation and it processes to facilitate their enrollment in schools in view of the Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009. So children below 14, they should not be engaged in any type of occupation. And this act also processes to facilitate the enrollment of children in schools because we have one more act called Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009. So this is regards to children below 14. What about children above 14 but they are not still 18? It prohibits the employment of adolescents, that is persons who have completed 14th year of age but they have not completed their 18th year in hazardous occupations and processes and to regulate the conditions of service of adolescents in line with the ILO. What is ILO? We saw it yesterday.
ILO.
Hmm. International Labour Organization, of which India is a founding member, right? After World War One,
Yes.
it was created. Yesterday we saw. So ILO
90.
Convention 138 and Convention 182 of follow பண்ணி how to regulate the conditions of service of adolescents. That is also considered in this particular act. Before we get into the act, it is important to know certain definitions which will help you understand the act. Number one, we have appropriate government, which means in relation to an establishment under the control of central government or a railway administration or a major port or mine or oil field, the central government, and in all other cases, it refers to the state government. So if you're talking about an organization under the control of central government or railway or port or mine or oil field, you will mean central government when you use the word appropriate government. In all other cases, when you use the word appropriate government, you will refer to the state government. Next is adolescent. Adolescent means a person who has completed his 14th year of age, but he has not yet completed his 18th year of age. So, who is a child? Child means a person who has not even completed his 14th year of age or such age as may be specified in the Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009, whichever is higher. Whichever age is higher, you'll take between the two acts. What is the meaning of the word day? Day means a period of 24 hours beginning at midnight. Next is what is an establishment? Establishment includes a shop, commercial establishment, workshop, farm, residential hotel, restaurant, eating house, theater, or other place of public amusement or entertainment. So, ingella, if they are employing adolescents, they'll have to follow rules. அதுக்காக தான் they are defining what is an establishment. Next is the word occupier. Occupier in relation to an establishment or a workshop means the person who has the ultimate control over the affairs of the establishment or workshop. Who is the supervisor or who is the manager in a particular establishment or workshop is called as occupier. Workshop. Workshop means any premises, including pressings thereof, wherein any industrial process is carried on, but does not include any provisions to which the provisions of Section 67 of the Factories Act 1948 for the time being applies. So, what is provision of Section 67 of Factories Act? We will cover when we are doing Unit 1. Okay, so workshop means any place where industrial process is carried on, except those places mentioned in Section 67 of your Factories Act. So these are the important definitions. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Moving on, you come to prohibition of employment of children in any occupation and process. So when you talk about children under this act tells you that if they are below 14 years, they are called as children and they shall not be employed or permitted to work in any occupation or process. That is your section 3. Okay. For this, there are certain exemptions. That is, children may be allowed to work in the following cases. Number one, help their family or family enterprise, which is other than any hazardous occupation or process set forth in the schedule after school hours or during vacation. So, after school is over in the evening or during vacations, a child can help his family or help his family enterprise, provided the family enterprise is not dealing in any hazardous occupation. Clear? Next thing, a child is allowed to work as an artist in an audio-visual entertainment industry, including ads, film, television, serials, or any such other entertainment or sports activities, except the circus. And if they are employing children to act, then they have to uh, put themselves into certain rules and regulations. That is, they'll have to follow some terms and conditions while they are making a child act. Okay, a child can be a child actor. He can act in ads, films, television, serials, or any such other entertainments, and he can also be involved in any sports activities. But he cannot be involved in circus, provided in all these places conditions and safety measures as may be prescribed are undertaken. Okay, so where only a child can work in only two cases, he can help his family or family business after school hours or during vacations, provided family business is not dangerous in nature. Or he can be a child artist in the audio visual entertainment industry. That is, he can act in movies, he can act in televisions, he can act in advertisements, or he can be part of any sport activity, but he cannot be part of circus. If he is acting, then that particular industry has to take adequate safety measures for a child on set. Clear? This is your section 3. And even in these two cases, the work that they're doing should not affect the school education of the child. Whether the child is acting or whether the child is helping the family business, it should be done in such a manner that the school work is not affected. This is your section 3. Very important. Clear? All of you clear with section 3?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So here you can see the different words explained as per a section. When I say family in section 3, I talk about the mother, father, brother, sister and brother, and mother, sister and brother. Basically, the family of the child is parents, sibling, and the parents' sibling, that is aunt and uncle. Clear?
Yes.
Family enterprise means any work, profession, manufacture, or business which is performed by the members of the family with the engagement of other persons. When I say artist, it means a child who performs or practices any work as hobby or profession, directly involving himself as an actor, singer, sports person, or in such other activity as may be prescribed, relating to the entertainment or sports activities falling under Clause B of subsection 2.
Yes.
Furthermore, now we are coming to the topic of adolescence, that is, children over the age of 14. Okay. Prohibition of employment of adolescents in hazardous occupations and processes. Section 3A provides that no adolescent shall be employed or permitted to work in any of the hazardous occupations or processes set forth in the schedule. So, what are these hazardous occupations which are mentioned in the schedule? They are as under mines, work which involves inflammable substances or explosives or any other hazardous process. Okay, so no
Yes, ma'am.
child above the age 14 up to 18 will be involved in any of these hazardous occupations. That is, he cannot work in mines, he cannot work in places where they deal with inflammable substances or explosives or any other hazardous processes involved. Okay, so for the purpose of this schedule, process has been assigned the meaning to it as given in the clause CB of Factories Act 1948. Factories Act 1948 la hazardous process னு என்ன meaning கொடுத்திருக்காங்களோ same meaning will apply here also.
Yes.
Furthermore, central government will also tell you what is the meaning of the word non-hazardous work in which it is safe for adolescents to be permitted to work under this act. Clear. So section 3A talks about adolescents and they cannot be employed in hazardous processes. They've also mentioned what are the hazardous processes, that is mines, dealing with inflammable substances or explosives or any other hazardous process. And central government will also let you know by notification what are non-hazardous work in which an adolescent may be permitted to work under this act. Clear?
Yes.
So the main
Yes,
section
ma'am.
in this act is section 3 and section 3A. You'll not forget. Section 3 talks about children prohibited from any type of work. Section 3A talks about adolescents prohibited from hazardous occupation. Clear, no? Two important sections. Next thing is hours and period of work. So adolescents are involved in any occupation. Then what is the hours or what amount of the day can they spend working? That is given in Section 7 of the Act. Section 7 provides that no adolescent shall be required or permitted to work in any establishment in excess of such number of hours as may be prescribed for such establishment or class of establishment. So, prescribe பண்ண hours க்கு மேல they are not allowed to work. An adolescent is not allowed to work. The period of work on each day shall also be fixed so that no period shall exceed 3 hours and that no adolescent shall work more than 3 hours before he has had an interval of rest for at least 1 hour. So, continuous ஒரு 3 hours work பண்ணலாம் and more than 3 hours continuous work பண்ணக்கூடாது and there should be an interval of at least 1 hour of rest for the adolescent. Clear? And the period of work
Yes.
shall also be arranged that it should be inclusive of its interval for rest. It shall not be spread over more than 6 hours, including the time spent in waiting for work on any day. So the entire work day will be 6 hours. And the 6 hours will be inclusive of any time of rest. And also the time period that he is waiting for work to be assigned to him. Clear? And continuously they cannot work for more than 3 hours. If they work continuously for 3 hours, if they work for 10 to 1, then at least 1 hour break should be given. Understood? Okay.
Yes,
This
ma'am.
section also stipulates that No adolescent shall be permitted or required to work between 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. So from evening 7 to the next day morning 8 a.m., that is night shift, is not allowed for adolescents. No adolescent shall be required or permitted to work overtime. So they'll work only for the normal hours, they'll not work overtime. And no adolescent shall be required or permitted to work in any establishment on any day on which he has already been working in another establishment. Or example, the kid has worked in a tea shop. Okay, immediately he cannot go and try to work in another petty shop on the same day. Okay, clear? Section 7. How their work hours should be structured in case you are employing an adolescent in your shop. Next is section 8, which talks about weekly holidays. Every adolescent employed in an establishment is entitled in each week a holiday of one whole day. And which this holiday is, it shall be specified by the occupier in a notice permanently exhibited in a conspicuous place. Conspicuous is the open place. It should be mentioned in a notice. For example, every Tuesday is a holiday abdina, it should be permanently exhibited in a notice. And the day so specified shall not be altered by the occupier more than once in 3 months. So, once in every 3 months, you can change the day, which day it is supposed to be a holiday, but you cannot do it more frequently. Clear? That's your section 8. Following section is section 9, notice to inspector. Section 9 provides that every occupier in relation to an establishment who employs or permits to work any adolescent shall, within a period of 30 days from the date of employment, send to the inspector within whose local limits the establishment is situated a written notice containing the following particulars: the name and situation of the establishment, name of the person in actual management of the establishment, address to which communications relating to the establishment should be sent to, nature of occupation and process carried on in the establishment. So, section 9 talks about if you are employing adolescents, then it is your duty that within 30 days you have to send a notice to the inspector. What all you will say? உங்க உங்க எஸ்டாப்ளிஷ்மெண்டோட உங்க ஷாப்போட பேர் என்ன, உங்க ஷாப்போட ஆக்சுவல் மேனேஜர் யாரு, உங்க ஷாப் கிட்ட ஏதாவது கன்வே பண்ணணும்னா எந்த அட்ரஸ்க்கு கன்வே பண்ணணும், அண்ட் உங்க ஷாப்ல என்ன டைப் ஆஃப் ஒர்க் நடக்குது, இது 4 விஷயத்தையும் மென்ஷன் பண்ணி யூ வில் சென்ட் அ நோட்டீஸ் டு த இன்ஸ்பெக்டர் இன் விச் லோக்கல் ஏரியா வேர் யுவர் எஸ்டாப்ளிஷ்மெண்ட் இஸ். ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள், இஃப் யுவர் லோக்கல் ஏரியா இஸ் இன் கேகே நகர், கேகே நகருக்கு இருக்கிற இன்ஸ்பெக்டர் யாரு அப்படின்னா அவங்களுக்கு யூ வில் சென்ட் இட். கிளியர்? Within 30 days of employing an adolescent. Adolescent வேலைக்கு வச்சு 30 நாளுக்குள்ள you'll give this notice to the inspector. This is your section 9. Next thing is maintenance of register. Every occupier in respect of adolescent employed or permitted to work in the establishment should maintain a register which should be available for inspection by an inspector at all times during work hours or when work is being carried on in any such establishment. So a register maintain பண்ணணும் if you are employing adolescents, and the register வந்துட்டு should be open for inspection to the inspector. இதுல என்னென்னலாம் இருக்கணும்? Name and date of birth of every adolescent employed and permitted to work, hours and periods of work such adolescent and the intervals of rest to which he is entitled to, nature of work for any such adolescent, and such other particulars as may be prescribed. So நீங்க adolescent வேலைக்கு வச்சிருக்கீங்கன்னா adolescent வேலைக்கு வச்சிருக்கோம்னு நோட்டீஸ் கொடுக்கிறது it is in section 9. You'll also have to maintain a register in which எந்தெந்த adolescents நீங்க வேலைக்கு வச்சிருக்கீங்களோ அவங்களோட பேரு, அவங்களோட birthday, you have to enter it, and what are the hours that they work, at what time they take their breaks, what is the nature of work that you give to them, and other prescribed details should be maintained in the register, and in the register should be open for inspection at all times. Clear? Yes. Next thing
Yes,
is
ma'am.
display of notice containing abstract of sections 3A and 14. Okay, what is section 3A?
Adolescence, prohibition, work,
Yes.
prohibition of work. Father.
Yes. Adolescents are prohibited from working in hazardous occupation. This is section 3A. Section 14 is penalty. Okay, section 3A wa meeri neenga, if you're employing them, what will happen? That is given in section 14. Okay, so every railway administration, every port authority, and every occupier shall cause to be displayed in a conspicuous and accessible place at every station of its railway within the limits of the port or at the place of work, as the case may be, a notice in local language and in English language containing an abstract of section 3A and 14. ஸோ நீங்க ஒரு ரயில்வே அட்மினிஸ்ட்ரேட்டரா இருந்தீங்கன்னா உங்க ரயில்வே ஸ்டேஷன்ல, போர்ட் அத்தாரிட்டியா இருந்தீங்கன்னா உங்களோட போர்ட் எல்லையில, அண்ட் எனி ஆக்குபையரா இருந்தீங்கன்னா எந்த ஷாப்போட மேனேஜரா இருந்தீங்கன்னா உங்களோட ஷாப் உங்க ஒர்க் பிளேஸ்ல யூ ஹாவ் டு கீப் அ நோட்டீஸ் போர்டு. கன்ஸ்பிகுவஸ்னா நல்லா தெரியற மாதிரி ஆக்சசிபிளான பிளேஸ்ல ஒரு நோட்டீஸ் போர்டு வைக்கணும். அந்த நோட்டீஸ்ல என்ன கொடுத்துருப்பீங்க? உங்க லோக்கல் லாங்குவேஜ்ல, இப்ப தமிழ்நாடுல இருக்கீங்கன்னா தமிழ் அண்ட் இங்கிலீஷ்ல யூ வில் ஹாவ் டு கண்டெயின் அன் அப்டிராக்ட் ஆஃப் செக்ஷன் 3A and 14. செக்ஷன் 3Aல இருக்க ப்ரொவிஷன்ஸையும் செக்ஷன் 14ல இருக்க ப்ரொவிஷன்ஸையும் ஒரு லோக்கல் லாங்குவேஜ்லயும் இங்கிலீஷ்லயும் யூ வில் கீப் இட் ஆஸ் அ நோட்டீஸ் in a place that is nicely visible to everyone. Clear? That is
Yes,
your display of notice. Following, you come to section 14, which talks about penalties. So இந்த ஆக்ட்ல இருக்க ப்ரொவிஷன்ஸ் நீங்க ஃபாலோ பண்ணல, இந்த ஆக்ட்ல இருக்க ப்ரொவிஷன்ஸ் அகேன்ஸ்டா நீங்க நடந்துக்கிறீங்க அப்படின்னா then there will be penalties. So section 3, section 3A penalty ஸ்பெஷலா இருக்கும். Okay, that is the main objective, no, to prevent the child labor or to prevent adolescents working in hazardous occupations. So இது ரெண்டையுமே main objective நீங்க மீறிட்டீங்க அப்படின்னா then there will be different penalties. What are they? Whoever employs any child or permits any child to work in contravention of the provisions of Section 3 shall be punishable with the imprisonment for a term which shall not be less than 6 months, may also extend to 2 years. Fine shall be not less than 20,000, which may extend to 50,000 rupees or with both. Okay, Section 3 ல இருக்க provisions மீறி நீங்க ஒரு child வேலைக்கு வைக்கிறீங்க, if you are employing a child, then jail time will be minimum 6 months, maximum 2 years, fine minimum 20,000, maximum 50,000 or even both. Clear? Okay. However, parents or guardians of such children shall not be punished unless they permit such child for commercial purposes in contravention of provisions of Section 3. So, parents and guardians are இருந்தாங்க அப்படின்னா they will not be punished unless they purposefully send their child to commercial purpose work. Following, you have your section 3A. If people contravene the provisions of section 3A, that is, you allow an adolescent to work in a hazardous occupation, what will be the punishment? Again, imprisonment for a term which will not be less than 6 months. It may extend to 2 years, and fine minimum 20,000, maximum 50,000 or with both. This punishment is same for 3 and 3A. However, parents or guardians of such adolescent shall not be punished unless they permit such adolescent to work in contravention of provisions of section 3A. Provided the parents or guardians of any child or adolescent shall not be liable for punishment in case of first offense. So first time தெரியாம அவங்க குழந்தைய வேலைக்கோ இல்ல அடலசென்ட் ஹசார்டஸ் ஆக்குபேஷனுக்கோ அமிச்சிட்டாங்கன்னா பேரண்ட்ஸ் ஆர் கார்டியன்ஸ் வில் நாட் பி பனிஷ்ட் ஃபார் த only for the first time, first offense மட்டும். However, if they are repeating it அப்படின்னா then they will be punished. Okay, the parents or guardians have been convicted of an offense under section 3 or section 3A, commits a like offense afterwards, he shall be punishable with a fine which may extend to 10,000 rupees. Clear? For parents or guardians alone, there is an exemption. First time, if they do the mistake, whether it is under section 3 or section 3A, they'll be left alone. But if they're repeating the offense again, then they shall be punishable with a fine which may extend up to 10,000 rupees. Okay. And for other people who have already convicted an offense under section 3 or 3A once, அதாவது ஒரு தடவை already அவங்க தப்பு பண்ணிட்டாங்க, for that punishment is minimum 6 years jail, maximum 2 years jail, and fine minimum 20,000, maximum 50,000 or both. இதையும் மீறி, if they do it once again, even after getting caught once, they do it once again, then they shall be imprisoned for a term not less than 1 year, and this jail period can also extend to 3 years. Clear? If they are repeated offenders, this will be the punishment. Whoever fails to comply with or contravenes any other provisions of the Act or other rules made under shall be punishable with simple imprisonment which may extend to 1 month or with fine which may extend to 10,000 rupees or with both. So section 3, section 3, அதாவது child laborல involve ஆயிருக்கீங்கன்னா or adolescence hazardous occupationல involve பண்ணிருக்கீங்கன்னா நீங்க மேல பார்த்த இந்த provisions will apply. அதர் தேன் திஸ் மத்த எந்த ப்ரொவிஷன்ஸாவது நீங்க ஃபாலோ பண்ணலாம். தட் இஸ் அவங்களுக்கு நிறைய நேரம் ஒர்க் கொடுக்கறது, ஓவர் டைம் ஒர்க் கொடுக்கறது, ரெஜிஸ்டர் மெயின்டைன் பண்ணாம இருக்கிறது, நோட்டீஸ் கொடுக்காம இருக்கிறது, இந்த மாதிரி அதர் ப்ரொவிஷன்ஸை நீங்க கான்ட்ரிபியூட் பண்ணியிருந்தீங்கன்னா the punishment will be imprisonment of up to 1 month, fine up to 10,000 or both. Clear? In this
Clear, ma'am.
particular act, they may ask you penalties. So be very particular about which is the penalty or of which section. Last provision under this act, district magistrate to implement the provisions. Section 17A of the act provides that appropriate government may confer such powers and impose such duties on a district magistrate as may be necessary to ensure that the provisions of this act are properly carried out. So இந்த ப்ரொவிஷன்ஸ்லாம் ஒழுங்கா நடக்குதா, சைல்ட் லேபர் இல்லாம இருக்கா, அடலசன்ஸோட ரைட்ஸ் வந்து ப்ரொடெக்ட் ஆகுதா அப்படின்னு யார் பார்ப்பாங்க அப்படின்னா இட் இஸ் த டியூட்டி ஆஃப் த district magistrate. Okay. And the district magistrate may specify officers subordinate to him who shall exercise all or any of the powers and perform all or any of the duties so conferred or imposed upon him, and the local limits within which such powers and duties shall be carried out by the officer as may be prescribed. So district magistrate government will give the power, and district magistrate can delegate this power and duty to any officer subordinate to him. Clear? Yes, so this is in regards
Yeah.
with your unit 3 of lesson 16. We dealt with Child and Adolescent Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986. So we are winding up with this unit. Clear? Any doubts in this unit? Pretty
No, ma'am.
straightforward. Easy, no?
Yes, ma'am.
So just one reading, it will help you to remember all the points. So we will stop with this. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.